What's going on, YouTube? It's Ben here, and I'm sorry to Chris Bumstead for stealing your intro. Intro, that's the correct word. Anyhow, on today's episode, I have this. Oh my gosh. Is it a PRS, Ben? Is it another one? No, it's not. This is something different entirely. It is. 1 second. Aha! This, my friends, is what we call a crafted in Japan. Yes, this is a crafted in Japan Fender Stratocaster. This is a bit of a documentary, before and after type situation, because this isn't my guitar. Although I'd like it to be, it's not. This is one of my lovely students, Damien, who I'm very lucky to teach. This is his guitar, or one of his many guitars, I should say. And he's got a bit of an issue with it. And that issue is, have a look at these pole pieces on this Strat. Now, is that going to focus up? There you go. Alright, if you guys can see those pole pieces, you might go, okay, yeah Ben, they're pole pieces. What's your problem? Stop having a whinge. I won't have a whinge, and I'll tell you why. If we have a look at the pole pieces, we can see that the pole piece on the B string is stupidly low for no apparent reason. Now that perturbs me. It perturbs me deeply, as it does Damien. So I'm going to show you why it perturbs us so, and then I'll explain what's going to happen. So let me get plugged in. We have the Made in Japan Stratocaster right here in my hot little hands. Now the problem with that pole piece being so low is the output of that entire string is just, it's nothing, right? It's ridiculous. So what can we do to change that? Well, we can raise the pole piece, but Damien's going to do the work himself, so I'll see if I can get him to take some photos before and after, or whatever. But all we're going to do is simply just raise those pole pieces ever so slightly, because they're way too low. I'm going to demonstrate to you now why this is a necessary mod for any Strat, and why pretty much every Strat that isn't a Fender Strat has already fixed this problem. At least as far as I can tell. So let's play it. I'm just going to play the open strings. Just going to play the open strings. It's so hilarious. I'm going to love to see the waveform on that. But it's got so much less output to it. And it's across all of the strings because the pole piece is down on all of them. So it's kind of silly. That really gets annoying when you're in the middle of a solo or something and all of a sudden you're on the B string and it's just not enough. It's just so far different. Like, where does the note go? Even if you go to the middle position or something. In the bridge pickup. It's so low. It's so low. It's horrible. We are going to fix that up for Damien. Well, Damien's going to fix it up and I'm going to document it. So this is kind of a necessary mod. I genuinely think that it is. If you have a Strat that is configured like this with these pickups, you legitimately need to fix this because it's such a problem. It's such a problem. So this will conclude the start of the video and we'll see you when the work is done. Alright? Cool. Rock and roll. Well, ladies and gents, after a long time We are back with my student Damien's Stratocaster. This project was a bit more in depth than I think either of us anticipated initially. I say either of us because I kind of gave him the idea, sort of, but he did the work, so I was really not a part of it at all, other than just being the spark to get it going. So what we're going to do, we're going to get a little bit of an interview with Damien happening, and we will rejoin this little bit of the video after that interview. Here she is, in all her glory. So, Damien.
Benjamin.
So, this was your kind of project. This was a tip guitar, wasn't it?
Yes, it came through a transfer station, and I picked it up for relatively cheap, $150. Had a few repairs done to it, and it's pretty much as is.
Yep. So all the relicking, we can thank the tip for that.
Yep.
But the main problem with this guitar was when you got it was the pickups, right? Well, actually, you didn't really know necessarily. You just said something's kind of off with this.
Yeah, well, I play it, and I couldn't put my finger on what it was that I didn't like about it. And I just assumed that it was the 7 1/4 radius fretboard. But having being an amateur guitarist, you sort of don't really, you pick up, I've got a lot of guitars now, and none of the others are 7 1/4 radius. So I just figured that it was the radius was the issue. Didn't really take much notice of the pickups or the fact that there was a problem. I mean, I had that guitar professionally set up by Cameron Reese from Custom Guitar Works. He was the one who actually repaired it after I picked it up from the tip. And to be honest, all it really needed was a setup and a new nut and some strings. That's pretty much all it's done. But, you know, he set the action and all that sort of stuff. So there should have been no fault there. Now, having gone to our favourite music shop, Sky Music, and played a Kenny Wayne Shepherd signature guitar, which is 7 1/4 radius, I kind of realised that it wasn't really the neck that was the problem. It was something else. I couldn't put my finger on it until I came back and actually played the guitar and realised that not all of the strings are the same volume.
Which is a bit of an annoyance.
It is. And then after doing a little bit of research online and trying to work out why it's so, come to the conclusion that Fender is the problem, not me, and it's not the guitar.
Sounds about par for the course. We'll skip along to the process of actually fixing the problem. So initially we thought that it was going to be pretty simple, just raise the pole pieces, right? But then you got under the hood and we discovered ceramic magnets as opposed to Alnico magnets, which just kind of began to snowball, and all these kind of little issues kind of crept up. So why don't you take us from that moment that you were like, okay, this isn't going to be just a zhuzh it up kind of job. It's actually going to be a bit more in depth to where we are now. What was the process?
So on removing the pickups and finding that they had ceramic magnets on the bottom, it wasn't something that I was prepared for. I figured they'd have Alnico magnetic pole pieces in it. And when you've got a single bar magnet on the bottom, you can't raise or lower the height of the pole pieces without either removing a magnet or trying to remove the pole pieces individually. The easiest way to do it is to get an iron, like a clothes iron, and just rest the magnet on the iron. If you're worried about damaging your iron, especially if you've got a ceramic iron, a piece of baking paper between the magnet and the iron, gently warm it up. It doesn't have to get hot. There's YouTube videos of people saying, oh, as soon as the pole pieces get hot, it doesn't need to be hot. To be honest, it's wax. So you just need to soften the wax and very gently peel the magnet off. The next point you have to get to is you've got to remember that when you replace the pole pieces, which are just steel slugs, and you can buy them online from StewMac or a couple of the other websites that I looked at. There's not a lot in Australia, but overseas you can get a lot of pole pieces for them, and they're just a steel pole piece. After finding out that I couldn't find any readily available, I managed to find some second-hand ceramic magnets that I could pull the pole pieces out of. And my understanding was that if you radiused the pole pieces to the same radius as the fretboard, that would cure all your problems. But it's a good starting point, but it's not a answer to the problem. With that particular guitar, the G string, I mean, us guys like loud G strings, but
Hey, yo. Nice one. Good. That's staying in the video. That was a good one.
Sorry, a dad joke, an old one. To be honest, the G was too loud, and the only way to reduce the volume without lowering the pickup and then having other strings with a lower volume was to lower the height of the G pole by 1 millimeter. And then the B string, because the volume of the B string was almost non-existent, how it was sitting in the pickup, it was 1 millimeter below the bobbin. So it wasn't even protruding past the pickup cover. So I added 2 mil to that and brought it 1 mil above the bobbin. And that's pretty much, I measured it all with vernier calipers to try and get the height, and I had them in, out, probably half a dozen times to try and get the volume correct on the pickups and make it so it was all even.
Yeah, and you actually, correct me if I'm wrong, but you took the pole pieces out of those kind of spare, shitty ceramic pickups that were kind of floating around somewhere, and that's what you used instead of the original, because you couldn't actually take the pole piece from the original pickup.
One slug, yeah.
Because it wasn't tall enough to begin with. So
no, when you've got a ceramic magnet, the magnet has to be able to touch the pole piece to magnetize it. I mean, they are strong magnets, and they're probably more, they're stronger. They're a stronger magnet than an Alnico magnet slug. And it was, I couldn't swap and change anything because I would have 2 short poles. If I didn't have one pole that was extremely non-existent, I could have maybe swapped poles around to make it work. But all I did was heat up another ceramic magnet, and this time all I did was heat the magnet up, and I grabbed the pole with a pair of pliers and just pulled it out of the wax. And all you have to do to put the new poles back in and to put your magnets back on, you don't have to glue them on. Just warm up the magnet. It'll have wax on it, and just glue it back to the bobbin. The magnet will stick to the bobbin by itself, just magnetically, because you've got steel pole pieces in it, and just let the wax go off. So you push your poles in, and then just sit the magnet on the back, let it warm up, and then take it away from the iron. Don't burn yourself. Just take it away from the iron and let it cool down naturally. And I did all this without removing the pickups from the pick guard. I removed the pickups from the pick guard, but I didn't disassemble the pick guard at all. I left everything wired up. You could, if you wanted to get really in depth, pull every pickup out and desolder everything from the potentiometers, but you can do it. by not removing the pickups from the pickguard at all. You can just unscrew them, take your pickup covers off, undo the wiring a little bit, just unravel a little bit, and you've got enough room to do everything.
Awesome. And now, having gone through that work that you didn't anticipate having to go through, it's kind of changed your tune on this guitar a bit. Is that fair to say?
Well, I picked it up and I started playing this chord progression, and I really liked the way it sounded, but I hated the way the B string sounded. Now that I've raised a pole piece, well, now that I've got all the strings even, to be honest, I really liked the way those pickups sound. And I've got a lot of guitars with a lot of different pickups. I've got active and passive. I've got Seymour Duncans, and I've got a lot of high-end guitars here. But I really like those pickups the way they are. They have this bright chiminess to them. And I don't think I'd change it.
Exactly.
There is something in the pipeline for it as an experiment to see whether anyone likes it or not.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought that there would be any reason to change those pickups. People say that ceramic pickups are crap, but a lot of the early guitars and a lot of classic guitars that are collector's items will have ceramic pickups. P90s are a ceramic pickup. Is it easy? If you can put strings on your guitar, you can do this. That's how easy it is.
Very nice. Well, Damien, I'll see you tomorrow along with this guitar. Thank you for letting me document this. And it's been fun, and I'll see you tomorrow.
No worries. Thanks, man.
All right, man.
Okay, now he's explained it. Let's see whether or not it fixed the problem. Allow me to demonstrate. Problem's fixed. You can use this guitar now, or you can use 6 of the 6 strings as opposed to 5. Was it a bit of a pain in the butt to get there? I don't think so, not for Damien. For me, it would have been, because I'm not that way inclined at all. Like, if I had have undertaken this project under the assumption that it was just going to be move the pole piece up, and then it turned into this, I would have cried, I would have thrown in the towel, I would have had a hissy fit, and I would have run along home. I would have been very frightened of the prospect of the amount of work required to get this done. But Damien, and I'm sure millions of others of you out there, are kind of engineering minded, if you will, and you wouldn't mind getting in amongst all this kind of stuff. So to you, I say, yes, this upgrade is pretty much free if you can find some spare ceramic pickups. It takes time, but it's interesting, you know. But for people like myself, who are kind of more or less clueless when it comes to this kind of stuff, I am speaking for myself here, this would have been too much of an undertaking. So at the end of the day, we've presented you with the information, and we've said this is how it goes if you want to do this thing for ceramic pickups. Go for your life, or don't go for your life. The choice is yours. But I think this has turned into a really interesting project. I'm going to give this guitar back to Damien tomorrow at our lesson. And until next time, I hope you guys have a wonderful time. If you do try this mod, please let me know. And let me know how you get on with it. If it's really quite fun for you, or if it's a right pain in the derriere. Let us know either way. And I think we'll leave it there. Okay guys, you take care of yourselves. Love one another. Be kind. Be nice. Spread some positive vibes. Go play guitar. And I'll see you cats in the next little video of mine. Alright, take it easy guys.